Hello! In this video, we are going to look at expressions that we can use when somebody asks for us to clarify some statements, and we're going to do that by looking at a comic strip. Before we do that, let me ask you, do you know the word in English for each of the following images? Look at these 4 images and see if you know the word in English for that. Pause my video, research the names in English if you need to, and then I'll show you the answers. All right, so what's this? This is a hole, yes? What do you call this? Treasure, huh? What do you call this part of the tree? Root. And what is this? Larva, a beetle larva? It's called a grub. They appear in the comic strip that we are going to read. Read the following comic strip. Let's read it together. So this is Hobbes. He's asking, why are you digging a hole? And Calvin says, I'm looking for buried treasure. He's very excited. What have you found? Hobbes asks. And Calvin says, a few dirty rocks, a weird root, and some disgusting grubs. And Hobbes says, oh, on your first try, like all that on your first try, like the first attempt, the first time you do it and you found all that, look at his face. And Calvin says, there's treasure everywhere. I love this. I love this. So let me ask you some simple questions to see if we understood what's going on there. What is Calvin doing? He is digging a hole. What has Calvin found so far? So some rocks, some roots, some grubs. Yes. How do they feel about that? They feel very, very happy, excited. Yes. All right. We're going to think about that in a moment. But we're going to use some expressions that we can use to clarify confusion. If somebody doesn't understand what we are saying, or if we are being too general, somebody can ask some questions like the ones that we have studied in the past, like asking for clarification. And then when we respond to those questions, we can not just give the answer, but we can introduce our answer with some expressions like the ones I have here for you. We could say before we give the answer, what I mean is, or what I'm saying is, or in other words, or sorry, let me explain that, or let me show you, like give you an example. Let me explain that in more detail. Let me rephrase that, like say it in another way. Let me put it in another way. Or to say this differently, and you rephrase it. To put it differently, so those are things that we can say to clarify what we just said. All right? Let's put this into practice. Complete the conversations answering the questions that ask you to clarify what you said using the expressions that you just studied. So I have 3 questions or 3 conversations here, and you say something like, you see, life is beautiful, and then another person asks, what does that mean? And then you have the opportunity to expand on that. So this is just a sample conversation, sample statements, and I want you to just expand on those statements there, those opinions, using the expressions that you just learned. All right? So I'm going to ask you to please pause my video, complete the activity, and I'll see you in a moment when you have finished and you have some answers so we can compare your answers with mine. All right? So I'll see you in a moment. Pause my video, please. All right. I hope that you completed the activity, that you have your answers, and let's compare it with some that a student wrote. So the first conversation started, you see, life is beautiful. What does that mean? So the expansion could be something like this. Oh, that means that there is beauty in everything around us. Sometimes we just don't notice that. All right? That could be one expansion. What is important here is that you're saying, that means that. All right. With this conversation, there are so many treasures everywhere. Somebody says, would you mind explaining that? Like that about many treasures? And you could say, let me explain that in more detail. If we are able to value the little things in our lives, they are like treasures. Yes? What is important there is that you say, let me explain that in more detail. All right. The last conversation was, to be happy, all you need to do is pay attention. That seems very general. So somebody asks, could you give me an example of that? And then the explanation is, what I'm saying is, you see, that's how you introduce your clarification for confusion. What I'm saying is that when you look attentively around you, you will find amazing things. For example, that's another way of explaining something. For example, the smile of someone on the street, the smell of a peaceful home, the music in the rain, etc., etc., etc. All that can make you happy if you make a little effort to appreciate it. That's very nice, a very nice answer. So, can you please now listen to the pronunciation of these conversations, pay attention, and practice pronouncing after the native speakers. So I'm going to pause my video, listen to the pronunciation, practice. Pronounce, please.
You see, life is beautiful.
What does that mean?
Oh, that means that there's beauty in everything around us. Sometimes we just don't notice it. There are so many treasures everywhere.
Would you mind explaining that?
Let me explain that in more detail. If we are able to value the little things in our lives, they're like treasures. To be happy, all you need to do is pay attention.
Could you give me an example of that?
What I'm saying is that when you look attentively around you, you will find amazing things. For example, the smile of someone on the street, the smell of a peaceful home, the music in the rain. All that can make you happy if you make a little effort to appreciate it.
Great! Thank you very much for practicing your pronunciation and especially for reviewing expressions to clarify confusion or to add details to our statements. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.